Humans love communicating. We love it so much that all over the planet throughout all cultures and times, we have figured out ways to communicate with others and express ourselves. Humans have come up with various ways to communicate. These ways can range from just talking, to gestures, to art, or even emojis. But we are not going to talk about them in this video. It could potentially be a topic for another video, but not this one. This video is reserved for a specific way of communicating: writing. So, first of all, what do I mean by writing? Do I mean literature? Do I mean books? Or do I mean essays? No, by writing I mean writing as a whole, ranging from the script of this video to the works of Shakespeare. But what is the actual definition of the word writing? Writing refers to the act of expressing thoughts, ideas, or information through the use of symbols, characters, or language, typically in a written form. It encompasses a wide range of activities, from scribbling notes on paper to crafting elaborate novels. Some of its purposes include being informative, persuasive, and entertaining. The earliest known writing system is the almost 5,500-year-old Sumerian cuneiform. It was developed by the Sumerians in Mesopotamia, which, by the way, is present-day Iraq. The ancient Sumerians wrote on clay tablets using a tool called reed stylus. The stylus had a pointed end, which they would use to manipulate and write on soft clay tablets by pressing on them. The writing system gets its name from the shape of the strokes of the symbols. Cuneus means wedge in Latin, and cuneiform means wedge-shaped. After inscribing the clay tablets, the scribe would let them harden. The sun-dried or baked clay tablets would become permanent records. Also, if you don't know, a scribe is a person who engages in writing, copying, or recording information. But anyway, these tablets were used for various purposes. They were used for legal documents, literature, trade and commerce, communication, religious texts and rituals, historical records, etc. This way of writing shaped the development of Mesopotamian culture, literature, and religious practices. Its legacy is a testament to human ingenuity and the power of written language. Also, have you ever wondered why some languages are written from left to right and others are written from right to left? Some famous examples of languages written from left to right are English, Spanish, French, Hindi, Bangla, etc. And some famous examples of languages written from right to left are Arabic, Hebrew, Persian, etc. Well then, let's answer the question. In many parts of the ancient world, writing was inscribed in stone or clay. Some languages are written from right to left because it might have been easier to hold the chisel in the left hand and the hammer-like tool in the other to carve out the writings on stone plates. And other languages are written from left to right, maybe because it is more convenient to write with the stylus from left to right, and it prevents smudging of ink while we are using our right hand. But I didn't mention another way of writing. What about the languages that are written from top to bottom? What is up with them? Well, let's try to figure it out, shall we? Some famous examples of languages written from top to bottom are Mongolian, Chinese, some Korean dialects, and certain Japanese dialects. The reason for this way of writing could be because a huge portion of Asia prefer to write on scrolls. In scrolls, it is more convenient to write from top to bottom while holding the paper. This way of writing also prevented the smudging of ink. Also, some of you might have noticed that the word stylus is coming up quite a bit. So, what is a stylus? Today, when we think about styluses, we think about a pen-like tool that we can use to interact with some of our digital devices. But in the ancient world, styluses were used to write on wax tablets or clay tablets. The stylus had a pointed end, which was used to write, and a blunt end, which was sometimes used to remove the writings on the tablets. These styluses somewhat depict the pen. Speaking of pens, what was the first ever pen? The earliest known pens were the reed pens, used by the ancient Egyptians as far back as 3400 BC. Reed pens are made by cutting a section of a reed stem and shaping it to form a nib. The process involves cutting a fairly thin piece of reed, approximately 20 centimeters long, and shaping it to create a flat point for the pen. The nib is then split to improve inflow. After this, at around 300 BC, parts of Asia started using brushes to write. Alright then, let's get to another pretty well-known kind of pen, the quill. After the use of the reed pen decreased, the quill started to gain some attraction in the 6th century. A quill is usually made using the feathers of a big bird, like geese, swans, or turkeys. The feather is typically collected from the left wing of the bird, as this wing faces away from the writer's right hand. After collecting the feather, it is cleaned. After cleaning it, the tip of the feather is usually put into hot sand to cure it. This process hardens the feather tip. After this, the tip must be cut into the shape of a nib. After cutting it, we have to put a small slit at the tip of the nib. After this, your quill is pretty much ready. Now you can start writing using the quill after dipping it into an ink cartridge periodically. Also, there is one more thing a person should know before they start writing with the quill. The desk the writer is writing on must be slightly put into an inclined position. Why is that? Well, the reason is gravity. If the surface you are writing on is completely flat, then the ink might start to bleed. But if the table is slightly slanted, then we'll be able to write with the quill much more accurately. Well then, let's move from the quill to the kinds of pen that are much more recognizable to us in the modern world. The fountain pen. The first patent for a fountain pen was filed in 1809 by Frederick Fulch in England. However, some sources claim that the first fountain pen was invented by Petrache Poenaru, a Romanian inventor, in 1827. The modern fountain pen, as we know it today, was patented by Louis Waterman in 1884. In a fountain pen, the ink travels down a tiny path towards the nib. This happens thanks to a mix of gravity and capillary action. If you don't know, capillary action is when liquid moves through a narrow path or tube without needing external forces like gravity to assist it. Water traveling up a paper towel is an example of this phenomenon. And when the nib touches the paper, ink starts flowing out, and you can start writing. In modern pens, there is a teeny tiny ball at the tip of the pen. When you're writing, the ball is between the paper and the ink. This helps the pen give a smooth writing experience with minimal smudging depending on the type of ink. But in today's world, we do most of our writing using devices like smartphones and computers because of their convenience and accessibility. Yes, we had typewriters in the past that were really useful to us, but their use has never been as widespread as a keyboard in the modern world. Right now, I'm using my keyboard to literally write this script. So, let's take a moment to appreciate the fact that we have come this far. From the ancient slow reed pens and styluses our ancestors used, to the powerful computers and keyboards on which we can write with ridiculous speeds. Even though most of our writing is done digitally in this era, there is still a charm of using a pen to write something down from time to time. Writing is a system that most of us take for granted. But imagine a world where writing was never invented. What do you think it would look like? Well, we can never be certain of what it might look like, but we can keep imagining. Goodbye.